Hey everybody, welcome to my stream. If you're tuning in live, it's quite late. I had a late day at work, needed to eat something, and I'm here now. It is 10:30 p.m. my time. 10:30 p.m. my time as I'm starting this. So, quite late. If I do this for, my usual sort of hour to an hour and a half, I'm nearly entering the next day. But as long as I start it now, I feel like I'm staying on the straight and narrow. Straight and narrow, Jesus, I'm not committing a crime. Hello, Anja. Hello, J. Andrew World. I'm stunned that anybody is awake at this point, but grateful. So thank you so much for joining. Let me actually start with something else. Hello, JS. Wow, yeah, definitely didn't necessarily expect anyone to be in here, but super grateful that there are people here. So thank you for that. Went with a very simple pose. This is definitely one that I've drawn many, many, many times because I'm just trying to bang something out in a reasonable amount of time. I'll take a look and see if there are any interesting questions or comments. Let's see. Hello, Chrissy. Hello, Asmin. Hello, Jeremy Pinkham. I'm at an orgy, but took a time out when I got the notification. I think that's completely understandable. Use this opportunity to go ahead and have some water. Can't be too careful. So yeah, long day at work, and that's fine. But here now, hoping to do something that's hopefully not too embarrassing, despite my exhaustion, and we'll just see how it goes. Hello, Mikey Jesus. J. Andrew World has a great question. What did everybody else draw today? What were your illustrations today? By the way, it's probably extremely obvious, but if it isn't, I very, very much illustrated this version of Catwoman to have Audrey Hepburn's features because that's something that what's his name? Adam Hughes does, and I like it. I just feel like that would be a really amazing actress to have portrayed Catwoman. J. Andrew World drew Jean-Claude Van Damme doing a split. That's perfect for Stretch. Let's see. Foof says Stretch Armstrong. Sure. And then David Patrick says, what kind of work do you do, Chris? It ain't too exciting. I currently sell used cars. That's what I've been doing for the last several months. It's okay work. I like the people that I deal with. I like my coworkers a lot. I like my bosses. Um, it's not what I ever expected to be doing, but I needed something, and this is what came along, and just trying to do the best I can at it. All right, right, let's see. No justice, no peace. Hello. So disappointed you're not doing Stretch Armstrong. I'm not. James Gleason says, yay, Catwoman. There you go. Jeremy Pinkham says, Audrey Hepburn, a dead ringer for Jennifer Love Hewitt, or so the weirdo who cast Hewitt to play her in a biop. I didn't know that. Jennifer Love Hewitt played Audrey Hepburn, huh? Could be worse, but Sigamegs can't stay for the stream but wanted to say hi. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sincerely, thank you. Thanks for dropping in. And I missed something, I think. Is that Catwoman from Batman the Animated Series? No, I'm definitely drawing more the version that Darwin Cook created with the goggles, the headgear and the goggles. I like that. I think that's still the outfit that she's wearing in the comics today. I'm pretty sure that that's right. So yeah, I've got the sort of goggles here. Sort of do some detail there that I can go back and flesh out later. Yeah, I'm a fan of Darwin Cook, and I thought that he created a really nice version of Catwoman that's iconic, sort of different than what we'd seen before, but still recognizable, and not too over the top or anything. I don't know. He was great. All right, other questions. Let's see. Given your art skills, have you considered using the contacts you're making now to get into more related field? For instance, you could do vehicle airbrushing. I don't think I'd enjoy it. I don't think I'd enjoy that. I specifically love comics. Yeah. It's comics or nothing. Maybe that sounds weird, but I just no. I'd be plenty happy to go back to the field that I've been working in for the last 20 some years, just doing marketing. I shouldn't say just, but yeah, that's what I've done for most of my career, and it's something I feel I'm pretty good at. So I'm happy to keep doing marketing if I can find a good marketing job. But if not, comics. Let's see. Sheldon Martin, hello. Sweet Catwoman, thank you. Ethan Brewer, have you read the Image Comics Bonehead? No, I haven't heard of Bonehead, I don't think. Sorry. Let's see. What else is A Cure for Jim Ballant? Oh, okay, yeah, it's very different. Brendan Sellers joins us and says, I love how Mike Allred inked Darwin's run on Catwoman. For sure. Yeah, they work very well together. I see a brush. Are you skilled inking with a brush? I don't know about skilled alpha. I'm trying to get better. That's all I can say. Always trying to improve. other questions? Okay. Jack Jones, you would probably make a great inker by now. I don't think I'd make a great inker. I'm still learning. Um, I'm yeah. I don't know. I might be willing to give it a shot, but I don't know. J. Andrew World says I needed some Jean Claude Van Damme in my life. Chris's true calling is voice acting. Nails those accents. Thank you. Thank you. Or should I say, thanks, governor. Perfect. That one's my Chinese accent. I actually would love to do voice acting now that I think of it. I guess I've never really tried to study that per se, but I do enjoy doing voices. Like, I don't know if I'm good at it or not, but I enjoy it. I will say that. Now, I don't like constantly just slip into impressions all the time, like while I'm working, while I'm talking to friends or anything. I don't do that. That would probably get obnoxious very, very quickly. But I'm just saying I do enjoy doing impressions. Anyway, thanks for that. Does this look like Van Damme? Oh, I missed something. I like a Catwoman with testicles. Well, she's probably out there, Mr. Yuck. There's a really good chance you can find her. Um, they need a replacement for Jack Chick. Gee, thanks. How do you feel about licensed comics? Um, yeah, it's a very hit and miss field. Nothing wrong with doing licensed comics. There's definitely been plenty that I've really liked. I think that ROM Space Knight and Micronauts were two really great series. I love G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe is technically a licensed series, but I love everything Larry Hama has done on G.I. Joe. Um, the first comics that I got into were things like, well, as a really little kid, like Winnie the Pooh and Smurfs. Yeah, I don't have anything against them. There have also been lots and lots of bad ones, though, like ones where people are just sort of not too passionate about what they're creating, and they sort of phone in a real mess. So it can be very fun to find those weird disasters. But there have been plenty of licensed comics that have been good, so I'm not against them on principle at all. Catwoman is looking a little well developed. Well, yeah, maybe. I may have gone overboard there. You're right. We'll see. Let me let me keep working on it, and we'll just see where she ends up. But you might be right. I may have gone a little over the top. Son of a Red Shirt says, doing an impression of Dick Van Dyke, doing an impression of a Cockney chimney sweep is less impression and more parody. Yup. EC Imhonde joins and says, you have the speaking voice of a narrator. Sometimes, and sometimes they just get too high pitched. Mikey Jesus says, modern licensed comics like Friday the 13th and Bubba Hotep and Escape from New York all feel so not authentic to me. Did I see the new Halloween? I did. I would say it's the best of the sequels, but that's not a very high bar to clear. It was okay. It was decent. It wasn't great. It really wasn't, but it was okay. licensed Bratz graphic novel by Mobius was good. Oh, I'm sure it was fantastic. I like licensed comics probably because I like seeing things I recognize. Interesting. Isn't that a big reason why some people like Family Guy? Like they love it when he just goes, "Hey Lois, that reminds me of the time we met Alf on the set of Webster." I'll be honest, I don't really watch Family Guy, but I'm pretty sure that I'm right that it does a lot of reference humor. Pretty sure that's what it's known for. Inking entire pages is a grueling process. I inked a few panels once and it took forever. It really does. Like you gotta really factor in a lot of information to do a good inking job. Yeah. I have to admit I just keep a very high standard for anything comic book related. So, you know, I love getting compliments when people are like, "Hey, you should do inking or something." It's lovely to hear, and you know, hopefully I am making some improvements. But my personal standard, I just look at it and I go, "Oh, I've got so far to go, so far to go." But whatevs. In the meantime, I'm having a good time learning. All right. Family Guy used to be funny, but it's jumped the shark. Okay. American Dad is the superior Seth MacFarlane show. Fair enough. Somebody named Channel. I can barely read it. Love the Inktober live streams. What camera setup are you using to get the split screen? Just using OBS software. OBS is a free program that allows you to input as many sources as you want, and it's pretty easy. So I just have two different webcams plugged in by USB, and you just have OBS recognize it. The Gold Star, oh wait, the Gold Key Star Trek comics were some of the first I read. Oh wow, okay. I had an aunt who bought me bagged comics at random, which had whatever comics they couldn't sell, usually the Gold Key license stuff. That's interesting. Anyone looking to practice inking? Tony Moore puts a lot of his pencils online just for people to practice on. They gave us one of his pages to practice on in college. That's awesome. I did not know that. I wonder if Tony knows that. I'll have to ask him. What college is that, Brendan? So that the next time I chat with Tony, I can ask him about that. You could draw one of those Revolutionary Comics Rockstar biographies if you're worried about art standards. Yeah, I could do that. I could jump off a cliff and die on impact. Either's a good option. Star Trek was licensed to at least 3 different comics companies. Yeah, at least 3. Because there was the Gold Key stuff originally. Marvel and DC each have had that license. And then right now I think it's IDW. So that's 4. That's at least 4 that have had it. And you know what? I could be wrong, but I think Malibu may have briefly had the license to Deep Space Nine. I could be misremembering that one, though. Oh, Scat, sure. Gotcha. Right on. Thanks for the info. Hello, Quinn London. Hello, Clay. Hello, Brooms Faulty. Does Star Trek have a lot of comics? It does if you add them all up. Have you heard of Bocce? I don't think so, Sweet Lime Juice, unless you're talking about the language, which I know C-3PO knows. We need a droid that speaks Bocce. I'll tell him, but I don't think we're going to have much choice. Chris, you could do an entire episode about all the different incarnations of Star Trek in the comics. Maybe. Maybe. Um, I did do a Star Trek episode once, though. Okay, Bocce is a manga artist. Okay, cool. I'll keep that in mind. Swipe running the reasons. Swipe running the reasons when you saw the Enterprise flying across the galaxy. The warp nacelles look like rockets with fire coming out. Hey, Software Agents TV, welcome. Malibu did do Deep Space Nine. That is amazing that I actually remember that. That's borderline scary. Well, this is the part of the show where I just start listing spoilers for recent TV shows and movies and comics. So I'll do that for the next 30 minutes, starting with the incredible twist ending at the end of Halloween. Where is there a current Star Trek series? You know what? Now that I'm thinking of it, I know IDW does some series, but I wonder if somebody else had it too recently. It is hard to remember all the people that have published Star Trek. I think that is more than one current Star Trek series, and I think it's IDW that has it. Pretty sure about that. You don't think there is? The J.J. Abrams version of Star Trek hasn't carried the franchise well. Well, yes and no. I mean, 3 movies isn't nothing. It's just that it's keep in mind also that, like, the original series movies, they never really knew if they were going to do another one. Like, I guess after the second one, that one did well, but so they knew they'd probably make 1 or 2 more. But after the 4th one, they didn't know for sure. Guy Fella joins us. Do you like the reveal of the Queen in Secret Invasion? I don't even remember it, to be honest. Was that like maybe Spider-Woman was the Skrull Queen? I can't even really remember it. So did I like it? I barely remember it. So I guess not really. What's the deal with the Skrull invasion surprise? I mean, was it meant to be a surprise or what? What's the deal? What's the deal with Wednesday? It isn't when, it's just a day. How about Nowday? Observational comedy. Ahem. Hey, Chris, glad I caught the stream. I'm glad you did too. Thanks, James. I hope the new Picard series will have him as a temporal agent. Oh, yeah, that could be interesting, sure. Starscream carried himself in battle. Even though he was treacherous, he could still fight. Yeah, I guess that's why they kept him. Roma Ticklin joins and says, "Oh, hi, you caught me watching you ink Catwoman, Chris. Speaking of inking, that was an awesome Hawk illustration last night." Ah, thank you. Yeah, last night I did Hawk. And it did come out all right. Not perfect. Couple areas that could have been improved, but not bad. Not bad. Anyway. Thank you for the compliment. Very much appreciated. What's the deal with inking this late at night? I mean, don't you sleep? I've heard of no sleep till Brooklyn, but this is ridiculous. Alright, sorry everyone. You didn't deserve all of that. Maybe a few of you did, but not all of you. All right, you should start a career in stand-up comedy. You know what? I guess this has never come up, but when I was in college, I actually did do stand-up comedy, and I did all right for like a year or so. I did it as a senior, and it was fun. It was fun. I didn't stay with it afterwards because, you know, I just didn't know any. After college, I went home to Boston and got a job, and I didn't really know anybody back in Boston at the time other than family, and I just didn't really have any friends that were in comedy to sort of like keep me in it. But one of my friends when I was doing this was a guy named Ken Jeong. And a lot of you probably know him, Dr. Ken. He's had his own sitcom. He was in the Hangover movies, etc. So we're still in touch. He's a friend of mine, and yeah, we were good friends. And he's a great guy. So I did do stand up actually for a while, and I have considered going back. But the thing is. I also feel that you can only really focus on one creative pursuit at a time and expect to do well at it. And so for me right now, that is doing my YouTube show. I think if I took the time to like really write some good jokes and try getting back into that, here in Seattle, that would dilute the show that I'm doing. So I'm sticking with that, and that's sort of my second interest. If for when I have a little bit of time, is related. It's drawing and trying to be better at being an artist. But yeah, there was definitely a time where I did do stand-up comedy, and it was a lot of fun, and I loved it, and I definitely am glad that I did it, especially at the time that I did when I was in college, and yeah, it's just good to draw from. It definitely helped me with public speaking and getting over that sort of fear of talking in front of crowds or in front of strangers. So I think it benefited me in a lot of ways in everyday life. I would love to take the time to write some jokes and do stand up for fun, but I just don't feel that I have that time to commit to it right now. You have a very unique style of holding your pencil. It seems to give you a lot of control. Well, I just sort of jam all my fingers together, so I don't know that yeah. You've had a super interesting life, Chris. Thank you. Bob Kane is a fraud. I like that. Says thoughts on the Apu controversy. Just that I don't think it was created in a mean-spirited way, and I do think that Apu ended up being a fairly three-dimensional character, but we can't always give something the benefit of, well, that's the time that it came up in. If it offends, people of South Asian descent, then it offends them, and we don't get to say, no, it shouldn't offend you. So if it offends a decent amount of a population, then I think it's worth just retiring the character. I don't think The Simpsons necessarily needs that character. So, surprised you didn't mention Ken's role on Community. I know, because I'm a huge fan of Dan Harmon, and Ken's been able to do some things that make me a little jealous. I'll be completely honest. He got to go into a WWE ring and get thrown out by John Cena. He got to be in a Transformers movie, and while I'm not the biggest Michael Bay fan, I grew up being a massive fan of Transformers, so he's definitely been able to do several things that I'm just like definitely jealous of. But I'm really happy for him. He's got a good career, a wonderful family. He's just a good person. Like Ken is just so funny. Joel Grey is a Korean martial arts master in Remo Williams. Yeah, different times. Would love to hear you crack jokes with a mic. Yeah, I don't really even remember. I sincerely don't really even remember my act from back when I was in college or that. It's just too long ago. I can tell you that it probably wasn't anything too great. I got laughs, but it was probably not super deep or anything. I mean, I don't know that I had even experienced enough of life to have much of a basis in anything. I really don't even. I know I told a few sort of observational types of jokes, and I know that I told some silly real life stories about my life, but I just don't really remember the details. I've tried to think about it, and I was like, I know I knew my act for a really long time after I even sort of stopped doing it, but it's just been too long now, and I just don't remember. But it really wasn't anything great, I don't think, or I would remember. I'm sure I let myself forget for a reason. If I did it now, I'd just be starting completely fresh, and yeah. So technically what I'm doing right now is not good inking technique because I'm drawing sort of from the wrist and I'm pushing. You should really try to use your whole arm and pull, but whatever, it's what's working. Emmanuel E, hello. Do you prefer indie comics or mainstream comics? I don't think that I don't think it would be fair to say that I have a preference between those two things. I just try a bit of everything and find artists and writers that I enjoy their work, and it can come from either. That's why you'll see me reviewing new comics, old comics, indie comics, mainstream comics, foreign and domestic comics. I really do try to mix it up so that I'm not missing anything. I'm open to all kinds of comics. I suppose if you like put a gun to my head and asked what my preference was, I'd actually probably lean towards mainstream, but it would sort of break my heart to exclude anything in comics. Hey Chris, since you're a Brubaker fan, have you read his Catwoman stuff? That is where I first discovered Darwin Cook. You know what? I actually haven't read that. That's a good point. Now that you mention it, that is something I sort of keep thinking I'll go back and find, and I haven't. Jeremy says that Brubaker threatened to kick my ass at a party 20 years ago. Why would he do that? What did he do? What did you do? Have I read any Valiant comics? I've read plenty of Valiant comics. I read them in the 90s. I read some today. You know what? I'll be honest. These days, I'm really only reading the Valiant comics that my friend Rafer writes. That's about it. I'm curious about the rest. I just haven't really made the time to catch up on everything. I think comedy shouldn't be taken seriously. Hmm, I don't know about that. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy to get offended by anything. I don't think anything should be off limits in comedy. Like, you can either listen or not. But as far as not taking it seriously, I think that there are rules. I think that there is a way to present comedy, and I think it's important for at least comedians to take it seriously. Let me put it that way. I think it's important for comedians to take the work seriously. It's fun, but I would take the work seriously. But the audience shouldn't have to think about it too much. I just also don't think that, like, if you're creating a mainstream type of comedy and it doesn't, like, any joke can bomb. There's nothing wrong with bombing for a joke. But if it, like, flat out offends people, and that's like, what's the point? I guess, like, where's the value coming from? Like, is it a small portion that's getting offended, or is it like a large portion? And I think you have to, like, really look at those questions seriously to consider if it, because a joke should be fun, and I don't know. I guess it's just worth analyzing. I don't think you should just do a joke because one or two people find it funny. Or you should at least have a point behind the joke. Like, you know, jokes aren't just there, just like, knock knock, who's there, ha ha ha. Jokes should tell us something. Like, jokes should, like, speak to truth, in my opinion. Jokes should, like, tell us about the human condition. Anyway, I could talk about comedy theory for forever. Honestly, I could talk about it forever. So I'll just sort of shut up for now, because I'm not a working comedian really. So my opinion should be definitely taken with a grain of salt. In fact, why not a whole silo? Take my opinion with a silo of salt. I'm willing to be wrong. Politically correct comedy isn't funny. I agree with that. But I don't think that there's too many people out there that really aim for that. Here's what I think. I think comedy is funny when you are essentially taking the piss out of someone or something. So if you're taking the piss out of like a person in a position of power, like a celebrity or a cool guy, a musician, whatever, like that's great. That's funny. If your comedy is picking on the low status person, if your joke is about like how a minority sounds funny or something like that, well, I would argue that that's not funny. Like to go after the low status person. And I'm not against that. It's a very complex, like to properly explain what I'm getting at. Like I don't know how to explain it right now. I'm too tired. I'm sorry. I would love to get into it. I'm pretty damn tired. I don't think I could do a good job explaining myself right now. It's honestly a good thing that I don't have a million followers, because a lot of people would just be like, explain yourself 100%, and I'd just be like, can I have a day to rest and recover, please? I hope you guys bear with me. But don't take anything that I'm saying right now too seriously, because A, I'm just talking about comedy in the abstract, in theory, okay? I'm not picking on a specific thing. And second, I'm really, really tired. Write a thesis and get back to us. Yes, exactly. These streams tend to be a bit quieter than most YouTube vids. Yeah, hi Michael, they do. Hello Peter. I'm sorry for disagreeing, but I hate the punch-up theory of comedy. Just punch. Interesting. Hello Nuzzy Lloyd. Good comedy doesn't punch down. Punching up is funny, punching down reinforces power structures. Yeah, a good joke is a good joke. Can you punch down sometimes? Maybe, but I would say that, like, if you're walking on eggshells, you can't be a comedian. I'm not talking about walking on eggshells, like trying to craft a joke that, like, doesn't offend. Fuck offending people, seriously. Don't worry about offending people. I'm saying, like, literally, what's funny. And if you're making a joke about like the low status person, and the low status person could just be like making a joke like, oh, women be shopping, or something even more offensive to people. What's your ultimate point there? Like, what's funny about that? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like a good comedian that like punches down, we'll say, and I cannot think of a good one. And I don't care about like saying offensive things like words, or joking about like ethnicity or race, well, almost the same thing, gender. There's tons of jokes to be mined from the differences. It's just in how it's presented as to when it like is truly funny to me. We're getting there with this illustration. There's a lot of black for Catwoman, and just trying to make sure that I get it right. American comedians literally bully Donald Trump with redundant jokes, don't you think? No, I don't think he's bullied at all. I don't think that like someone in that kind of power really can be bullied, because like, I don't know, when you're that powerful, like when you're the president of the United States, it's kind of like, who cares what other people say? No, I don't think the comedians bully him at all. I think the comedians have always joked about every world leader, and nobody gets a pass there. How did we get on this subject? That's an interesting question. How did we? Um, don't know off the top of my head. I will admit, I'm a bit of a comedy snob. When I think about like stand-up comics, I love certain stand-up and I hate others. So I can definitely be sort of a snob about what's funny and what's not. But at the end of the day, you know, whatever people like, everybody's got a difference of opinion on what's funny and what's not. It's very subjective. Wow, I've already been going 45 minutes. Best actress who has played Catwoman. Not the easiest thing. Um, I did like Anne Hathaway's performance a lot, but I also found Eartha Kitt very fun back in the 60s. I mean, it was so over the top, like the voice and everything, but it kind of works in the context. Yeah, I might go with Eartha Kitt at the end of the day. All right. Well, I messed up a little by doing a couple of those lines on the outside, but so be it. The Thing is a classic. Halloween kicked off a genre pretty much. Talking about horror movies, huh? Michelle Pfeiffer. Uh, Pfeiffer was good. She really was. Best Catwoman actress is Halle Berry. Yeah, well, Halle Berry's not a bad actress, but she has done some pretty bad work. We'll say that. Javon Miles liked Anna's Hathaway. Jack Elmy says Michelle Pfeiffer 100%. Totally respect it. Let's see. Batman Returns. All right. Let's do my thing that's becoming a little typical. That's where I bust out some markers and add some gray because it's so much fun. And I'm going to color almost everything on this. This is the most fun part, everybody. Like I feel like I've locked in the structure, so I'm almost just like it's almost just fun coloring, just to sort of see what happens with it all. But I do sort of like the definition that it gives. All right. Everybody knows the correct answer is Julie Newmar. Don't be so politically correct. It's not politically correct to list other people. Michelle Pfeiffer is a legend. Sadly, I haven't seen much of her work. I saw her in Mother as Eve, though. She was great. Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer is great. I want to say Fabulous Baker Boys was her, and Scarface. What else was she really great in? she's been great in so many things. Michelle Pfeiffer is amazing. I don't know if she's ever like really had a bad performance, really. Has she done much comedy? I'm trying to like think right now, and I can't think of Michelle Pfeiffer in much comedy. It's not coming to me anyway. Stardust. Haven't seen Stardust. I know Eartha Kitt from Emperor's New Groove. She was funny in that. Jack Elmy says Bill Everett would have done a good Catwoman. That's probably true. Witches of Eastwick. That was sort of comedy. You're right. Married to the Mob, but didn't see that one. The Family with Robert De Niro. Didn't see that one. Ant-Man 2. Good point. Yeah, she was in Ant-Man 2. That was fun. Almost forgot about that. Very fluid. Alicia Silverstone was Batgirl, yep. I don't really like Ant-Man 2. Oh, I enjoyed it. I like Catwoman's, what? Catmobile from the Silver Age, alright. Have you ever done any comic work in the past, and if so, where can I find it? Yeah, I've done a lot. Most of it is self-published, so you wouldn't really easily be able to find most of that. Maybe someday I'll pull out like what I haven't sold and I'll make it available to viewers or something. Someday maybe. But I have done a few mainstream things that you can readily find at your nearest bookstore, library, or Amazon. 3 anthology books, and they're all sort of educational comics. There's what have I done? Sorry, I need to find something. Colonial Comics, Volume 1 and 2, and Trickster, which is Native American stories. So I've done stories in those 3 books that are pretty easy to find. Again, Trickster and Colonial Comics, Volumes 1 and 2. Sorry, I missed how many tribes contributed to Trickster. Um, every story in there is by a different tribe member, so you know, it's got to be close to 24. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. It's been too many years, but it's somewhere around there. Um, quite a lot of participation. Every writer was like an actual tribe member from various tribes, and I don't think any of them had written comics before. They were just paired with people that had illustrated before, so that there was some sort of a basis of knowledge, you might say, something like that. But yeah, some real talent in that book, and that one was nominated for an Eisner. So technically, I've been in an Eisner nominated book, which is kind of nice. Let's see. Other than Supergirl and Harley Quinn, who is blonde? Power Girl, Black Canary. Is Supergirl? Yes, she is. But actually, Black Canary usually is not blonde. She wears a blonde wig. She's usually, right? Or is she blonde and she wears a black-haired wig? I literally can't remember right now. I'm getting tired. Now, I'm pretty sure she has black hair and wears a blonde wig usually. So let me pull this up closer. Tried to use Audrey Hepburn's look for this Catwoman. Feels a little off balance actually now that I'm looking at it. Feels like I think I missed a little bit here. So let me just try to flesh this in slightly. I think that'll make it look a little better. Sort of, I don't know. Never mind about all this. This is a lot of these. This is just too inconsistent how I approached the vinyl. Pissing myself off now, sort of looking at some of these choices. Oh well. Sometimes you're tired and you make mistakes. It's okay. I could have done better. Green Arrow is a great leading lady for DC. Green Arrow is blonde. Okay. Add a litter box and a ball of string. Sure, I can do that. There you go. Did that improve the drawing at all? I'm not so sure it did. Catwoman's face came out very nice. Thank you. I think it's just because I used very few lines. Very few lines. Very delicate poop there. Thank you. This would be an appropriate stream for Milo to appear in. I know. You know what? 9 out of 10 cats prefer Gritty Kitty brand cat litter. The litter box does raise a question. How the heck would she go to the bathroom? I assume she takes the whole suit off and squats over it. Wow, stink lines too. Yep. Where's Milo today? I kept the door closed, so Milo couldn't get in. Have you considered doing more comics? If I had time, I probably will. I'm sure I will do more comics at some point. I prefer to write. I just like drawing for fun. My kids call it kitty glitter. I like that. Maureen Ponderosa. Maureen Ponderosa. All right. Hi, I made it. Hello, Mitchell. I'm about to take off. I finished the drawing. I'm going to take off, everybody. It's getting quite late. It's 11:30 my time, but at least I finished it before a new day began, right? So that's something. Have you ever considered self-publishing your own comic? I've done it many times in the past. Don't know if I really want to do that right now. Maybe. We'll see. I definitely want to be able to pay my artist up front. So that's still a question. Oh, the prompt was stretch, and that made me think of Catwoman sort of stretching into various, like, tight spaces. And I did a few sketches, and I wasn't too happy with them, and it eventually just sort of ended up being this, which isn't very. She's not really stretching too much, but it's where it went. It's where it went. Tomorrow is Thunder. Obviously, the most obvious thing there would be Thor, but there's also a Thunder in DC Comics, isn't there? I think that there is. I got to think about it. I don't have a good idea yet, but I tend to think of it the next day. Wow, 2:30 for J. Andrew World, 2:30 p.m. I believe in the Philippines. Wait, is his cat's name Milo? Yeah, my cat's name is Milo, Emanuele. Oh, I'm glad that you also named your cat Milo. It's a cute name, right? You really don't want to clean that litter box. No. Mickey from Rocky would be funny for Thunder. I like you. Where you thinking, Sanity? You got a crap Thunder. All right. Look at this. Thunder Chief? Wasn't it Apache Chief? AJ, Chris, would you like to review first draft of my comic book story? Would I like to? Sure. Do I have the time? I really don't. I get asked to review comics and scripts all the time, and I really just don't have the time right now. Shazam for Thunder. Shazam's not a bad idea. I've never tried to draw Shazam. I like the idea. You should make a Discord chat to talk about comics. Maybe someday. Thunderdome! Thunderdome! I really love the world of Mad Max. That could be a good excuse. Captain Marvel if you're a purist. Good point. Who suggested Thunderdome? Sheldon? I like that idea. Lino is a... You guys are so good. Look at all these great thoughts. Yeah, Thundercats. Javon Miles joins in. Oh, these are some great suggestions. You know what? A lot of you out there better try drawing at least one day of Inktober, okay? I love the idea of Thundercats. I love the idea of Thunderdome. And I really like the idea of Captain Marvel as well. This is taking me in a lot of different directions. I don't know. I can only do one tomorrow, so we'll see. I'm going to take off. Thundar the Barbarian. That's a good one too. But I am going to take off. Thank you all for joining. Great comments and questions. Appreciate it. Didn't expect many people this late, so very grateful that you were here. Tomorrow should be earlier. I'm working the morning shift tomorrow, so tomorrow should be good. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye. Oh, keep reading comics.